Back and welcome to training module number 5 entitled Designing with Capture. In order to comprehend this training, it's helpful to preface this modules with our other previous training modules 1 through 4, specifically training module 4. This course is about specifying components, and in this module, number 5, we'll cover all of the capture components, and many of these were discussed previously that Mike went over. But they will include the work surface and supports, our overheads, storage, and then some miscellaneous and ancillary items and componentry. So let's get started. Again, learning objectives on specifying the components that we're hoping that after this course you'll be able to space plan work surfaces and supports and determine when best to apply them and meet our planning guidelines. We'll discuss more in detail planning overheads applied to capture frames, meeting guidelines as well, and then determining supports needed for storage applications. In addition, we'll learn about basic supports and other storage structures and how to specify them as well. So again, we'll start talking more in detail about our work surfaces and supports. This is a great diagram that kind of depicts our componentry names and some of the identifiers. It's a good image to reference when trying to understand handed supports. Always keep in mind the right and left in the direction of the supports and how you'll be sitting at a workstation. I'll go over this more in detail, but I try to always preface that when you're trying to think of if it's a right support or a left support you're going to need, always picture yourself sitting in front of that workstation itself. So on this slide we show a bunch of different options of work surfaces. We talk about, as mentioned before, that they're 1 1/4 inch nominal thickness. We do have the half inch gap along the back for cable management, and this is a great way to be cost efficient and save, as you can eliminate grommets if needed and use that half-inch gap. Our transitional work surfaces, which we didn't talk too much in detail before, they accommodate dual work surface depth. So in other words, a transitional corner can be 20 inches deep on one side and 24 on another. And we'll go over this more in detail. And as Mike mentioned before, the nominal work surface height is about 29 inches high for standard work surfaces. In these work surface, the standard rectilinear work surface prefaced with a prefix of CRWS, and they come in all different widths ranging from 24 up to 96, with depths from 20 to 30 inches deep. The CRWSs cannot be used as floor-supported freestanding, and that's due to not having any internal reinforcement bars, so keep that in mind. There is another option that has a reinforcement bar, which we'll talk about later. The CLH RWSs and the CRH RWSs, these are used when corners are created using rectilinear work surfaces. So the diagram on the far right is giving you that image in case you specify a main work surface and a return work surface, you would not get that half-inch gap created all the way around. So in using, for instance, the image on the right, bottom right, the CRHWRWS is a surface that has the 1 inch gap or half-inch gap on the left-hand side. So therefore, the gap would create all the way around the surfaces. As I mentioned previously, the CRWTHS is the surfaces that have the reinforcement bars. So these can be surfaces used for freestanding, and it helps to provide some rigidity and extra support and eliminate any middle supports if needed. And as I discussed before, the transitional work surfaces, again, they're dual depth surfaces, so we have not only the transitional corner, but we have the extended transitional corner, and they come in options of having 20 on one side, 24 on another, or 24 on one side and 30 inch deep on another. One thing that's important to point out is the grain direction on our surfaces. This could be important if you're joining surfaces that can have variances in their grain directions. It's just always a good thing to point out in any situation you might need to know. As Mike talked about before, we offer 2 different types of height adjustable tables. Our express height adjustable table can be offered in high pressure laminate or our thermofused, and it does have an adjustment range from 24 to 49.5. There are two control pad options. You have standard and you have programmable. And then the finish only, to take note, is gunmetal. It does not offer it in our standard finishes. So the gunmetal, just as a tip or a note, is pretty close in between platinum and gray. So just keep that in mind when specifying. And then our 4 adjustable height adjustable tables, 4 adjustability height adjustable tables, they are a little bit different in the fact that they are offered in all of our standard trim finish colors, and their height ranges vary. The single stage ranges from 26 to 44 3/4, and the dual stage is 21 to 47. Mike had expressed that in talking in Module 4 in more detail as to those. The crank offering on these tables is pretty much the most cost-efficient one, so just keep that in mind if you're looking for something in that caliber. Something that's important to point out as a specifier is you need to be conscious of pinch clearance on the adjustable height tables. All of our adjustable height tables are shorter in widths so that they accommodate for pinch clearance. However, on the depth portion of the tables, it is not shallower, so it does not have that factor. So if you look at the diagram or the image on the left, you can see that there is no pinch clearance where that fixed surface in red adjoins to the adjustable height surface. However, the layout is proper on the far right, where the width of those adjustable height tables is shallower and provides the pinch clearance needed for the surface that's fixed on the far right in red. This is a standard image we've seen numerous times. It's in our price book, and it's basically showing you supports. When it comes to our supports, we offer end panels, support legs, and stores that can be used in place of return panels. We just have to make sure that we meet some planning guidelines. All criteria for using lower height return panels need to be met, and at least half of the support elements need to be return panels for sure. When using pack, just make sure you use some bracketry, like pack storage units, use some bracketry to connect to the panels themselves. So basically, if you have a metal storage support, that would tie to the work surface, and a bracket clip in the back would then tie the surface to the panel itself. We'll discuss some of that in more detail in later slides. We have a wide breadth offering of work surface supports. They do come handed, most of them. We have our cantilevers, which are handed. End panels can be handed as well. We do have brackets that are offered in left and right. And then we have flush support plates and numerous floor supported structures as well. P-legs, U-legs, and post legs. And we'll get into more detail on the bench storage support and when that's used, along with the riser. So this is a good example showing detail of our cantilevers. And again, as I mentioned, if you position yourself sitting on the front of the work surface, you can see that in facing it, your surface or your cantilever support on the left, and then you have a cantilever support that would be on your right, and then you have 2 shared ones that would join between the surfaces. End panels are used at the end of runs. We do have to keep in mind of planning guidelines when using those to be supportive, and they do attach into the panels with teeth or clips, and they provide maximum stability at the 29-inch high height. Support brackets are a great way to keep the panel edge aligned. If you have a panel that's the same depth as the surface, you can tie one of the brackets into the front edge and help keep that in straight. They are available in black, or they are available in our trim colors at an upcharge. Flush support plates are another great feature that we offer. This can help to tie surfaces that are adjacent to each other, and even in some instances where you may have some off modularity of surfaces and need some extra support between 2 adjoining surfaces. We offer numerous support leg options, as I mentioned previously. The P legs can be handed and shared. Our U legs do attach into, our capture U legs do attach into the panels themselves, and then we also offer a post leg. Now, when I talked previously about bench height storage support and the riser, these can be used with our laminate storage surfaces, storage structures. The riser is 1 inch and it is mainly used with our freestanding laminate storage or our credenza style. So most of our credenza style and freestanding storage is 26 3/4, and that riser provides that extra inch needed to reach up to the underside of the standard work surface height. Bench height support is only for our bench height storage option. Once again, in determining the work surface support requirements, here's a good example again, using our shared work surface support and a single cantilever. As if you're sitting at the work surface itself, that shared cantilever support can be either a left or a right, actually, because it's tying into the panel there, either on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of those two panels in a straight run. And as for the cantilever on the right-hand side that we're looking at, that's a single cantilever that is needed because that surface is over 60 inches in length, so it needs a middle support. And again, that one could be a right or left as to how it is hooked into the panels that are joining side by side there as well. If you look at the end panel in that picture, though, you will see that that needs to be a right-hand end panel because it is on your right-hand side. So in determining requirements for 30-inch deep surfaces, again, we always require on our 30-inch deep surfaces that they need to have some sort of front edge support. If you have a panel that is perpendicular to the surface and is the same depth, you can tie it in with the work surface bracket as is shown here. If your panel is longer than the surface depth, then we need to make sure we offer some sort of floor support under that edge, whether it be a P leg or a U leg, or an end panel too. Again, using another scenario situation here, if you look at this image, this talks about our bracketry. So using the ped there that's supporting the surface, we would like to have a clip in the back to tie the surface then to the panel. That would be a left-sided bracket that would be needed. And then we definitely need a corner bracket in any corner work surface conditions to support that back corner. And here again, it could be a right or a left because there's two adjoining panels in that corner condition that would be on the right-hand side of the panel or the left. And once again, that end panel would be a right-hand end panel. We discussed this a little bit in detail, I mentioned before, about the front edge of the work surfaces being supported. It's really preferred to try to keep those always clipped into the panel if the panel is the same depth. It helps to prevent the panel from torquing outwards and helps to keep the surface more rigid as well. If you do have a panel that is longer than the surface, again, we need to have some sort of cantilever on a 24-inch deep option, or it would need to be a floor support on a 30-inch deep option. And it's imperative that those panels be the same height as well for support. So one way that we wanted to throw out a tip for cost efficiency in a situation is if you use a bracket clip in the back and a post leg in the front, this can greatly save in cost of any sort of floor structural support that's needed. When it comes to value engineering, just to give you ideas of the cost, the end panel is the least costly of the bunch of floor supports that we offer, and then the P leg would be next, with the highest price being our U leg. In Capture, you can hang surfaces other than the standard 29-inch high. However, there's some tips to keep in mind. We offer heights of 34, 42, 46, and 50. However, in any of these situations, you need to make sure that you have wing panels the same depth as the surface, and only bracketry can be used to support it. We cannot support a surface over 60 inches in length due to the fact that we cannot have a middle cantilever of some sort. It needs to all be tied with bracketry. Mike mentioned previously about our overhead storage offerings, and we just want to show you the good illustrations of different scenarios using different heights, 50, 58, and 66 frames, and the capabilities of the storage offerings that we have and how you can hang them and what heights and what amounts and thickness of the overheads you could use. So I won't elaborate too much more on this one. Again, we offer numerous laminate overhead storage, shelves and cubbies, flippers, sliders. As you can see here, this talks about the shelves and cubbies that we offer. We have the full height shelves, half height, and personal shelves. Personal shelves are shallower in depth, and they are only 9 3/4 or 9 1/4. I'm sorry. They all offer grommet and quarterback options, and the quarterback would be a standard on anything 42 and 48-inch wide. We do offer the sliders. Keep in mind that the single slider has an option for a laminate or a frosted plexi door, but the dual slider only comes in frosted plexi door option only. Each unit has a center divider, so there'll always be one cubby open while the other cubby is closed. There are mentions of heights here that you can read in details, and quarterback again is offered, and these units do not lock, so that needs to be kept in mind. Our flipper and our hinge door laminate options, they are thermofused laminate double door units for the hinge doors, and you do need to specify wood grain direction on the laminate fronts that you prefer. The flipper door units flip up and over the cabinet, and they are offered with grommets for cord management and quarterback for both of these, and the quarterback again comes standard on the 42s and 48 wides. We do have the steel flipper door options as well, and we offer them in our FD series, which is the flipper door unit that flips into the cabinet, and our FSU style, which flips up and over the cabinet. Mike had pointed out in our previous module some great tips to keep in mind if you have some situations where they want to prefer not to have things sitting on top of the surface. It would be really good to specify the FD style, the FSU style that flips up and over. And if it's okay to have anything sitting on top, the FD would work well because that flips inside the cabinet. When it comes to our component mounting rails, these can greatly save space and cost by not having panels up against the drywall, that they would not take up panel thickness, or they would not take up cost by having panels duplicated along the drywall. So these rails work well for that situation. Keep in mind, as we had mentioned before, that you cannot apply captured tiles to the component mounting rails. For any type of tackable structure, you would need to use the mounting rail tackboards that we provide. And again, there's a chart in the price book as well that we show on the bottom as to sizes and applications for that. These are just some planning guidelines we've mentioned before about our panel hung storage. Keep in mind that the storage cannot hang on stackers, and the full height overhead storage can only have a maximum 16-inch change of height on the return panel. And if a storage is hung on a return panel, the return must match the work surface depth so that you can apply that work surface bracket we mentioned previously. Top-mounted overhead storage. One thing to keep in mind, as we discussed in Training Module 2, that it is important to apply these top-mounted overheads in the Giza Frame Designer or the CAT Panel Builder if you can, because this will ensure that all auto hardware will read the appropriate panel heights with overheads and apply the appropriate connectors. We had discussed these overheads before, and there's a maximum 8-inch change of height allowed for any panel adjacent to the top-mounted overhead. And just keep in mind that the tiles below a top-mounted storage unit may not include laminate on both sides or slat wall on both sides. Designer shelf, always keep in mind, we've reiterated this and we just want to point it out one more time, that you need a 16-inch tile on the back side of any designer shelf for extra support. And the shelf must be mounted at the top of the panel as well. Another thing to point out that's important is these designer shelves are 10 inches deep, so they are narrower than the metal shelves or the laminate, so they will not align properly if you put them side by side. With that, we're going to touch on laminate storage. There is a full statement of line in our Module 4, but we'll discuss a little bit of important things to keep in mind when you specify our storage. This again slide reiterates some of the importance of our laminate storage and dimensions that we offer on them. Keep in mind that our bench height storage is only 21 inches high, and our credenza and freestanding is 26 3/4. So as I mentioned previously, the 1-inch risers would be needed for the credenza and freestanding to support surfaces. Notate the sizes of options offered on these bullet points 4, 5, and 6. And we do offer optional cushions for bench height guest seating. The wood grain, to point out, will run vertically on the fronts of these storage units. And we do offer optional locking. We also offer laminate storage towers, and they are a great feature to add to our workstations. The wood grain will run vertically on these. They are freestanding, and they come in many different depths, 20-inch deep, 30, and there's many different, or I'm sorry, 15 wide, and there's many different heights between the 57 and 3/4 or 65 and 3/4. And last but not least, let's not forget that if laminate is not an option or too costly, you can use our pack metal filing and storage within the Capture workstations. That'll complete the workstation layout nicely. They are less expensive, as I mentioned, and we have an exceptional range of sizes and offerings. And we can match all of our Trendway colors as well. So with that, we can jump into miscellaneous componentry. We provide a full range of options to complete your workstations. One thing to point out that's really important, I think, to specify on every project is if you have a bunch of flipper doors in a row together, it's really nice to have these shelf clips added. They help to keep your overheads aligned properly and help to keep everything a little more structurally tied together. They do come as a box of 6. And there are different types of flipper shelf clips provided. You need laminate ones for laminate overheads and steel flipper shelf clips for the steel. Steel ones attach under the underside of the shelves and flippers, and the laminate are drilled into the sides of each other. When it comes to our lighting, we do offer LED lighting, which is currently very popular. It is slimline in detail, and they can be daisy chained together, which is a really nice feature. Daisy chaining them together helps to provide only one power cord and outlet, or to the outlets, versus numerous power cords hanging down. So that's a good feature to offer. In addition, we have an occupancy sensor, which automatically turns off the lights interlinked together, which is great. And we have our standard fluorescent lighting that we've had for many years in our system. That's the good bread and butter. It is a base model, includes a 9-foot cord, and keep in mind that we have our light cord covers that can cover that. Also, a good note to point out is the slim profile task light here will not attach to the underside of a designer shelf. We offer personal desk lamps. We have many different sizes and price ranges. The personal desk lamp is has a circular head, and it is in black only. The Ori desk lamp has a wide range of vertical and rotational adjustment, and it's freestanding or clamp mount and comes in brushed nickel. And lastly, the Luma touch lamp can be freestanding base or clamp or slat wall mount, and it has an occupational sensor to it as well. And that can come in the 3 different finishes of black, designer, white, or platinum. Wire management is always important to have in your workstations and often gets overlooked. The wire manager attaches to the underside of the worktops, and it's only available in black. And our light cord covers do connect and clip into the panels themselves, and they can come in all different trim colors. Our work tools or slat wall is available with many different items, such as the pen tray, paper tray, pen cup, and clip holder, and you can find all those in the price book. And our slat wall itself, the tile, can be our trim colors. However, the actual accessories themselves come in only clear or smoke. So with that being said, we once again just reiterate that our software programs are offered in numerous other programs besides Giza and CAP that we've mentioned in these modules. And you can contact Design Studio at either our phone number listed there or at design@trendway.com if you have any questions or would like us to double check any work. And also feel free to look at the Trendway website, trendway.com, peruse through our idea starters, help to use those for refreshing and training yourself on how to specify our product. And any additional resources as well. We offer numerous ways to look up info about our capture line, as in our 2020 training videos, the other training itself, and the capture price books. So with that being said, you've completed all 5 capture training modules. Congratulations, and we hope this provides you with the info you need to get started specifying capture. Thank you.